is what our country has become. This is what our country has become. Total control, total fear-mongering. I am recording. It is, I can record. I can record, and I will record.
So when you see the boil blood in my mom, it's because it came from my abuela from Cuba, who fought communism firsthand. You have a strong-willed generation of Cuban Americans that will not stand up for what this is, medical tyranny, and this is communism in America. The hospitals believe that they have full authority over our children.
So we're going to talk to a woman. Imagine if you went and you gave birth. I mean, particularly if you're a woman. I mean, I know they say that men can have babies too, but let's be realistic. So you're a woman, you've just given birth, which is not an easy task. Suddenly, you know, the hospital wants to give you treatments that you know don't make sense. So you're like, you know what, I'm going to just consult with my own personal doctor and get approval. And we're going to check out because I have like 3 other kids. And then they call the police on you. The police show up because you wanted to just do what was best for your kid. That is exactly what happened to actually a political candidate and strong woman. Let's watch. Her mother took the video of her in the hospital as this was going down. Take a look.
This is bullshit. Absolute bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. Look at this. You want to talk about fear-mongering? Look at this. Look at all these police officers that have been called on my daughter. This is her 4th child. What is this? This is absolutely ridiculous. This is what we've been dealing with? This is what our country has come to? I am recording. It is, I can record. I can record. And I will record. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Mom, please calm down. Mom, I need you here with me. Please calm down. Please.
This is absolutely ridiculous.
Oh my God. Mom, stop.
Let me hold the baby.
No, I want him. Stop. 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 Oh my God. Stop. Oh my God. Oh my God.
This is what our country has become. This is what our country has become. Total control, total fear-mongering because of this nurse that walked out here and went to go bitch and complain.
Oh my God, I can't believe she called me.
This is unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. We are going home. You better believe we're going home. We better believe we're going home. We...
Oh my God!
I am so sorry. It's not part of it.
Oh my God! I don't want to be here overnight. Oh my God!
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
My gosh, Angela is bravely with me today, Angela Contreras, and I am tearing up watching that, Angelique, excuse me, because it's just, my gosh, I'm empathing with you. Like, what a terrifying situation. I mean, you'd already just given birth, you know, gosh, thank God for your mother taking that video so that we can expose this ridiculousness. Mike, I'm sorry to put you through that again.
Yeah, that's been difficult to watch. You know, it's my 4th child, and I don't think any mother, 1st, 4th, 6th, doesn't matter, should have to face what I faced. Unfortunately, you know, the healthcare industry has gone in the wrong direction. And, you know, I don't know if we should put our trust in it anymore. And after what I went through, I will definitely be a huge advocate for home birth and for mothers to take back their pregnancy, because the hospitals believe that they have full authority over our children.
And they do not. And we need to make a stand, and we need to stop this from happening. It's completely unacceptable, not to mention terrifying that this is happening in the United States of America.
This is absolute bullshit. Look at this. You want to talk about
Look at the
fear-mongering?
police.
Look at this.
The police
Look at
running
all
the
these
hall. Like,
police
what is wrong
officers
with
that
these
have been
police
called
officers?
on my daughter. This is
Wrong with these
her
brown
fourth
shirts
child.
that
What
just
is
follow
this?
orders?
This is
Who the
absolutely
heck
ridiculous.
does this kind of
This
crap?
is what we've been dealing with. This is what our country has come to. I am recording. It is, I can record.
All right, we're going to go back to Angelique, who had to experience this firsthand. It was her fourth child, as you heard, just given birth. And give me the background on this. Why on earth were the police called right after you gave birth?
Nobody knows. So there was a total lack of communication the entire day. Nobody knows in the hospital as of yet who called the cops on me.
But what really sparked all this off? So you said that you just given birth and that there was something wrong, like he had something that's pretty common, like some kind of bilirubin, or explain that.
Yeah, so in the morning at 6 a.m., they had taken my son's blood for his bilirubin. We were set to discharge both of us from the hospital. I had just given birth 3 days prior. Everything was perfectly fine. And then all of a sudden, around 11 o'clock, a NICU doctor came into my room, first time ever seeing my son, first time ever talking to me, and told me, well, we're going to discharge you from the hospital, but we're going to keep your son for phototherapy because we don't like what his bilirubin levels are at.
The heck you are. Any mom would be like, the heck you are. I'm not going anywhere without my new baby. Are you kidding me? Go ahead.
Absolutely not. And for many years, I've been an advocate and I've been an activist against the medical field. I have a 12-year-old daughter. All of my children do not have the protocols, the standards of vaccines of the United States of America because I don't trust the medical industry. And so I felt like when I first admitted to the hospital, I denied the eye goop, I denied the vitamin K, the hepatitis B, and I had to sign a form. But I want parents to know that if you are giving birth in the hospital, you do not, and you are not obligated by law to fill out those forms. But I do feel like there was a target placed on my back because I stood up against the medical industry and I challenged this doctor's report on the bilirubin levels. And I said, look, your graph shows online that no phototherapy is necessary for treatment. At the least, you have to follow up with blood work again to see if the bilirubin levels have come down. And this NICU doctor was adamant that I was neglecting my child, not putting his best interest in mind. And I already told him I was going to take my son home. I was going to breastfeed him, go out in the sun, because that's what's the best treatment for bilirubin levels that my son was showing at the sign of discharge.
I mean, to me, it's just the arrogancy level. I think you're absolutely right that you had a target on your back the minute they were hip to the idea that you don't vaccinate and that you were refusing the recommended things. I mean, same thing happened to me, and this was years ago. Gosh, my youngest is 11 now. But the same thing for all three of my children. I refused those initial shots because I'm like, heck no, they were just born. They're not going to need a blood transfusion anytime soon. They're not in sexual relationships where they need to be vaccinated against hepatitis. Like, absolutely insane. And the fact I think that you pointed out, which is so crazy to me that I thought even then, the fact that you have to sign that you don't want them to inject your brand new human on this planet, your brand new baby, instead of sign for them to inject your kid is insane. Insane.
Yeah. Is that there's no liability for them for any injury. And that's what, happens within the medical field. And, for many, many months, I stayed away from even finding a midwife because I was adamant that I wasn't going to go to an LBGYN or a midwife's office that required mask mandates. Look, I live in the free state of Florida. And during my anatomy scan appointment that I went to, I was denied even getting the ultrasound done because I refused to comply with the office's mask mandate. And that was this year, just in August. And so we're still dealing with the medical tyranny here in the state of Florida, and laws and legislation have to change so that we can hold these industries accountable for injury, for the fact that they made a mother go through that just postpartum. is insane to me. Imagine if somebody wasn't as strong-willed as I am, an activist for over 12 years, a political candidate, somebody that stands up for our constitutional values. Who would that mother be? Where would that mother be with that same interaction? That's what breaks my heart the most, is the industry is causing these mental issues. The industry is causing all of this sickness through the community, through our nation, and we have to stand up and stand out against them.
And we can see where you got it from with your mother taking the video. Gosh, praise God that she thought to do that. I mean, we need to make sure that we are prepared to collect the evidence at every turn. And thank goodness that she was prepared with the cell phone to take the video. It sounded like when she was collecting that video that someone had told her that she couldn't film. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so there was 4 police officers from West Palm Beach Police and then 2 security officers from the hospital. And you see one of them turn to my mom and say, "You can't record." It's our First Amendment right to record. You cannot tell somebody that they cannot record an incident. And imagine, again, if somebody doesn't know their rights, they would be trampled on left and right. And look, my family, I'm first generation Cuban American. My family lost everything to communism. So when you see the boil blood in my mom, it's because it came from my abuela from Cuba, who fought communism firsthand and then passed it down to me. So you have a strong-willed generation of Cuban Americans that will not stand up for what this is, medical tyranny, and this is communism in America.
You know, I don't know how anyone can't be a believer in the spiritual element of these things, because when you see that happen, just the audacity of these fellow human beings being able to do that to a brand new mother. And call, I mean, you have 3 children already. You're clearly not a threat to your newborn child. You had documentation that you felt that phototherapy was not going to be necessary. And the fact that the audacity that she's not taking my recommendation. I mean, the health people, it's making me lose all respect for those in the medical community, because the arrogancy, gosh, how much were they wrong these past couple years? And they just keep on going with it. Like, it's so sick.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in this video, but my mom had told the guy, because he goes, "I'm following standards," and he goes, "Like what, your Fauci standards?" So interesting is there's always a standard that should be followed by these doctors, but then they don't put into account what our rights are. In the state of Florida, we have a patient bill of rights. We have a right to refuse medical services. And on top of that, they even reported me as negligent to DCF. So that's the first time in 12 years of being a mother that I've had this organization come to my home.
This is like the
government
scariest part of this. This is the scariest part of this, Angelique, is that this isn't over. She has been reported for negligence to DCF.
This is absolutely ridiculous.
Mom, please calm down. Mom, I need you. Please calm down. Please.
This is absolutely ridiculous.
No new mother should have to go through this. This is the terrifying moment that police were called on a woman in Florida because she didn't want to follow the hospital protocol for her 4th child. And they called the police on her and threatened to keep the baby there and discharge her. And this isn't even over. We're here with Angelique Contreras, who's bravely sharing her story. I'm such awe of you and your mother for being able to share this story. You're fresh new mom. I gotta believe you're very tired right now, but you're helping expose the continued medical tyranny and the continued nonsense of this establishment that just constantly, arrogantly thinks that they know better. And this isn't even over for you yet. You were going into that before we went to break about how now they have basically child services coming after you. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So in the morning, I had gotten a release from my family doctor for follow-up, and I let the hospital know that. They took my son's vitals and blood work again at 4 p.m. And then the nurse came in my room and said, based off his levels, still, we want to keep him. And both my mom and I turned to the nurse and said, well, we're going to leave against AMA, against medical advice. And they told me that if you leave against medical advice, it's hospital protocol to contact DCF. But we just released a patient yesterday and contact DCF, and they didn't take the case. And I told the nurse, you don't know who I am. And then all of that came reality when they contacted DCF and somebody called the police. DCF claims that it was not them because the gentleman from DCF, the caseworker, came to my room and asked me questions about follow-up with the doctor, my 3 other children, and then asked me permission to go to my home. I do have cameras in my home that the gentleman did come, checked if water was running, checked if I had food in the refrigerator, and then he did go in my bedroom of my children and took pictures of them sleeping to put into this case.
Good
and
grief.
Then followed up.
So invasive. This should not even be allowed. I mean, what your newborn had is my daughter had. This is not like an uncommon thing for babies to have. And to, as soon as you start pumping that good old breast milk in them, they end up recovering fine. I mean, this is the problem. They don't even accept natural things like the beauty of breast milk and being outside in the sun. I mean, they reject all those things. And now you have stupid child services involved. This is your 4th child. You know, how old is your oldest?
So I have a 12-year-old, I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and now the newborn.
And suddenly you're suddenly a crazy psycho negligent mother after you have successfully raised a 12-year-old and your other children. I mean, it defies all logic.
It does, absolutely. And it rips you of your autonomy. It rips you of your rights as a parent. And that's what I told the hospital. Like, how can you, with the patient bill of rights, stomp on everything that it says in our laws in Florida that we have a right to leave against medical advice? And they said, well, this is a child. A child can't speak for itself. I am the child's best advocate. I am the child's mother. I would never put my child in harm's way. And they robbed me of that. That's why I say, you know, at the end of the day, we have to embolden ourselves. We have to know what our rights are, what the laws are within our state, what the protocols for hospitals are, and really ask ourselves, do we want to sign our families up for that? Do we want to go through the medical tyranny that I faced and many other families before me have faced?
Yeah, I mean, and just think of the irony of this. These are the same kind of people that are like, oh, well, it's a child. But then these are the same kind of people that would be like, let the child die in a failed abortion. If the baby is born alive, just let it die. And then they're going to act like they care about the child in a case like this. Now, your case manager for this stupid bull honky investigation into you is saying that it was not the hospital that called the police. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Who else could it have been?
Well, and he was stating that it wasn't DCF that called the police because he has never, in a case for a hospital, since he's been working for them, ever had gotten police involved. So the hospital saying that it wasn't them who called the police, and DCF is saying they didn't call the police. Well, who else would have called the police on me and sent them to a labor and delivery floor where other mothers are going through labor, where other mothers are with their newborn babies? You know, I am sending out FOIA requests. I'm sending my grievances to the hospital, and I'm following up with this, and I'm fighting this because something has to change. This cannot continue.
Angelique, I got to ask you, did any of the local news stations have any interest in covering this, or was this just to, you know, exposing of their elite that they're trying to cover for?
Yeah, I did not get contacted by any of the local news sources, and they all know me personally because I've been vocally active in Palm Beach County for over 2 years over mask mandates, the school things, and also with my election process. None of them were interested in this story.
Unbelievable. I mean, this is a huge, massive story with national implications, and your stupid local news affiliates and reporters just just put their blinders on? I mean, that's so unbelievable. Now, because you are political, because you have run for office, do you think that that has anything to do with the target on your back and trying to, in this lawfare way, come after your kids?
It's not the first time I've been politically attacked. Unfortunately, after January 6th, the police came to my house over a Facebook post and intimidated me at 10:30 at night, and I was on InfoWars for that as well. So yes, I do have a target on my back, and I will continue to fight for what's right, and I will continue to allow that target to be on my back, because if it exposes the corruption, it needs to happen.
Absolutely. We got about a minute left. I just want you to get into how your baby is doing now, if he's better, and how we can keep up with you and support you if you have a legal battle in front of you.
Yeah. So Aiden Maverick Contreras is doing amazing. He is tomorrow will be 2 weeks old. He was completely cleared with a bill of health from his family doctor, and he's in loving life with his chaotic brother and sister running around the house. But you can follow me on Instagram, Angelique_Contreras1, and on Facebook. I'll be updating everything on there. And I do appreciate you for having me on and sharing the story and exposing it to the nation.
Well, thank you for your bravery and inspiring others that we do not have to just sit down and take this, that this is abhorrent, and we're going to continue to expose the arrogancy and the insensitivity. And thank you for reminding us of our Bill of Rights. It's horrendous that this happened in Florida. So, folks, make sure that you follow Angelique, support her, continue to encourage her, and who knows if she will have a legal battle in front of her. I mean, this should be an open and shut case. The baby's fine now, but who knows what will happen. Thank you so much, Angelique Contreras.